What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Wednesday? Going to have a fun show, a little bit of a different topic, getting some creativity in here as we're all going to the bar. 8 a.m.
8 a.m.?
Yep, let's just
on a
jump
Wednesday.
into the bar. A Titans, a Jags, and a Colts fan walk into a bar. Who is the most miserable during this NFL season? We're going to talk about that because there's a topic that I heard from 104.5 The Zone this morning that I thought, that's interesting. Let's talk about it. Let's put our own spin on this thing and have a good conversation on this Wednesday as the Titans are prepping for the Minnesota Vikings coming up on Sunday. So we're going to have a interesting show. The panic meter conversation, which AFC South fan base should be panicking the most. There's about like 4 or 5 different tangential branches of conversation that we could go on today. We might pick like 2, maybe 3 if we have time. We'll find out, because then we've got sports trivia to wrap up this Wednesday. Easton and I are back together driving the sports trivia bus. We'll find out if we can not wreck it, since Sam is not on the show today to help us be victorious in trivia with a clean slate. So,
you and I need to set our differences aside, band together, and prove that Sam is a baseball merchant at this game.
He's a baseball and geography guy.
He's a baseball and geography merchant. You and I can do this. Let's stick together today and let's put this to rest.
Yep. So let's have a good show on this Wednesday. Jump in, like the show. Easton, tell the people what they got to do.
You got to like the show. Good morning to everybody that's in here with us on a Wednesday. Help us out by hitting that thumbs up button on Facebook, on YouTube. If you're with us here on Twitch, we appreciate you being here as well. Like the show. I think, look at that. Facebook fixed now. We can see names on Facebook. We can see the like counter is accurate.
They fixed that Monday evening. So,
okay. Did we? Well, good. I'm glad. And it's good to see all of your faces connected to your comments. So hop in those comments like Drew and Koss, American Toff, Duran, Daniel, Anthony, Drew, Jesse, and more. We want to hear from you guys this morning on what is an AFC South centric topic, taking the Texans out of this and looking at the rest of the team saying, what's going on and how are we going to fix it?
Basically, yep. So without further ado, let's do it officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Easton Freeze, one of our Titans reporters for A to Z Sports.com. And we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. Got to thank our sponsors. They make it happen for us, and they help out all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process in Lebanon, WilsonCountyHyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans by visiting our link today for a quote and health assessment, fbhp.com/ATOZ. And T-Dot, help T-Dot keep Tennessee beautiful by joining their campaign of NobodyTrashesTennessee.com. So somebody's asking if you have the heat on in your house because you're wearing a pullover.
It actually is cold. This is a good observation. We're at that time of year where it's like during the day, you got to flip the cool on because it's getting warm outside and the house gets hot. And then at night, I like it cold. But then throughout the night, it gets cold outside and makes the house cold. So you got to flip it back to heat.
So you wake up and it's like 64 degrees in the house.
Right. And my wife says, go turn the heat on. And I run downstairs and I flip the heat on.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So now I can feel it warming up in here, but it is a little chilly.
Yes, for sure. All right. So let's dive into this show here. So, look, we're going to be transparent and honest. We're in the middle of nothing, right? We're in the middle of nothing. The Titans are about to get bludgeoned.
You guys got any ideas? I don't know.
Yeah, the Titans are about to get bludgeoned by the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday.
I don't know about bludgeoned. The Vikings almost lost to the Jaguars last week. Let's not give them too much credit.
The Titans are going to lose to the Vikings on Sunday.
Lose is fine.
In Nissan Stadium. Is crazy. Okay. And the Titans have availability today. So Easton, you and Sam will be over at the facility. And so I was listening to Ramon, Kalen, Will on 104.5 The Zone, our media partners here in Nashville on the radio this morning. And they were going through a lot of different panic meters. They were going like college and NFL fan bases that should be panicking. And they had an interesting conversation of which AFC South team should be panicking more. The fan base should be panicking more between the Titans and the Jags. And I thought that was a really good conversation because both teams are very, very high in the NFL draft order. As of right now, the Jags are picking number 1, as we talked through yesterday. This is the current draft order. The Jags are number 1. The Titans are number 3. Both teams suck. Both teams have only won 2 games, and both teams are significantly disappointed from what their seasons should have been. So I think this is a good conversation to get into because of that. And then Easton, you thought, well, let's not forget the Colts here either, because yes, the Colts are 4-6 by record, but the Colts have a disaster situation going on with their second-year quarterback and Anthony Richardson, who is not playing. So the guy who needed to come in from college, who only had 1 season as a starter, and get as many reps as possible because he's 20 years old, he's raw, he's got all the upside in the world. He just needs to play. The Colts decided mid-season, no, let's not play him because we're not winning with Anthony Richardson. We need Joe Flacco.
Let's be clear. By the Colts, you mean the owner of the Colts.
Or Shane Steichen. I don't know who.
Not buying it a lick. Not buying it. He looks like a man who is being held hostage. Remember earlier in the year when up in Cleveland after every single game, Deshaun Watson is Deshaun Watson, and you had this is the morning, blanking on his name.
Jimmy Haslam.
No, coach of the
Kevin Stefanski.
Stefanski, thank you. You had Stefanski at the podium, like blinking in Morse code, help me. He looks like he's like Deshaun Watson is our quarterback. That he is freed from that purgatory, and it has now been transferred over to Shane Steichen. He looks like a man that needs help.
Fair. So, but since flipping to
But they've done it. They have done it.
The Colts are 0-2 with Joe Flacco named the starting quarterback. So they're also in their own version of misery. And so I also saw, because the NFL draft order right now is one thing, right? Because there's 8 games for the Titans, 9 weeks of NFL season to go. And a lot of these teams at the top will play each other. We've already seen that happen a lot this past weekend, as we had 9 2-win teams a week ago, and 4 of those 9 won games. And then you have the Dallas Cowboys and the Jets that are also just hanging around the 3-win mark as well. But let's look at projected draft order, because I think this shows misery, and this shows what it's most likely to be at the end of this regular season, because I do think that's important before we dive into the whose panic meter needs to be ringing the loudest. So this is from ESPN.com, who put out their projected NFL draft order a couple days ago after this week's games. So the Jags and the Titans have the same exact projected average draft position at 5.6. So in this final projection that ESPN put out this week, the Jags get the 4th pick, the Titans get the 5th pick, and the Colts at 4-6 get the 14th pick.
Which is so funny.
Yeah. And
thank God for Joe Flacco and playing for the playoffs.
So the Titans have a slightly better chance of getting the 1st overall pick than the Jags. They have a slightly better chance to get a top 5 pick than the Jags, but somehow the Jags have a slightly better chance to get a top 10 pick than the Titans, even though they're both nearly locked in to a top 10 pick. The Colts have a 31% chance roughly to get a top 10 pick there too. So I think there's a lot of different layers to this, because these 3 organizations are in different spots. Because you have the Jags, who just paid their quarterback a lot of money earlier this offseason, right before the season, and they are 2-8, currently holding the number 1 pick. You have the Titans, who wiped everything clean basically, and have a second-year quarterback that was, quote, promising from the owner, who was talking after firing the previous head coach, who is now sitting there picking 3rd and not looking good. Either he's making boneheaded mistakes or he's being conservative and taking 7 sacks. There's no middle ground with Will Levis, or hurt. Yes. I guess the middle ground would be hurt.
Not on the field.
Yes. Yeah. Then you have the Colts, who have benched their second-year quarterback with high upside, and that are still not doing very well winning football games because they thought they could make the playoffs. I don't think they're making the playoffs. The Colts are walking themselves directly into quarterback purgatory with an unexperienced Anthony Richardson, who is going to remain inexperienced, and a Joe Flacco who will either be retired next year or playing with a different team like he's done the last 3 years. So I think this which panic meter needs to be ringing the loudest conversation is pretty interesting with these three teams. Easton, what is your overview of the topic before we actually get into it?
Yeah, I think it is an interesting conversation because they are in such different places, and all three situations ultimately revolve around the quarterback situation. I guess that's just the nature of the NFL. It always comes back to who's playing quarterback and or who's calling the plays. And it's the quarterbacks and it is the coaches as well. And we've got a graphic for that as well. The coaches of these three teams, not necessarily safe, any one of them. Now, some less than others. And I would argue one of them is already officially a lame duck, dead man walking coach. As you see, Doug Peterson has minus odds to be the next coach fired as of this morning, according to OddsShark, which you got to really be pre-fired, certified toast to be minus odds for the next head coach fired. Not great. If you look down there, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th is Shane Steichen at plus 2,000. So not as hot his seat, but on the radar of folks, of guys that may or may not be making it to the end of this year. Brian Callahan, not on this list, and I couldn't find a full league odds. They don't give you super long odds of guys that you can't find odds on. Andy Reid to be fired next, but Callahan, just by nature of being a first-year head coach, the messaging all being not positive, but no red flags in terms of his job security as of right now. So no reason to put him on that board. But I don't think anybody is thinking, if the Titans continue to play the way that they are playing, that he is here 2 years from now, right? Like I think the leash is probably 2 years if things don't improve. So all three guys are coaching for their job, and all three quarterbacks, or four quarterbacks in this instance, are a big part of the equation here. So I'm excited to hear what you and the folks in the comments have to say about who we think is most dysfunctional. And then at the end of our conversation, who we think is closest to turning this ship around.
Yep. So let's go ahead and ask it. So Easton, you'll throw this in the chat. We'll see what everybody in the chat has to say about this. And the question to lead off the discussion, which AFC South fan base should have the highest panic meter right now between the Titans, the Jags, or the Colts? Which AFC South fan base should have the highest panic meter right now between the Titans, the Jags, or the Colts? Real quick, let me tell you guys about T-Dot. Our friends at T-Dot are still fighting the good fight to help keep Tennessee beautiful, to end littering and find a solution to end littering across Tennessee, because our state has 88 million pieces of litter across the roadways. That's flat out unacceptable, just like the Titans special teams. But you need to all find a solution, as we're trying to find a solution for coverage units for the Titans as well. But you can help out by picking up litter when you see it. You can help out by, not littering in the first place, or by having you join a local cleanup that's already organized near you, and you can earn Trash Master Rewards points as well for ticket perks, other local event perks as well, by visiting nobodytrashestennessee.com. That's nobodytrashestennessee.com. I've been saying this for a couple months, Easton. Just pick up litter when you see it. I told Sam this yesterday. Taking a walk in the park with the dog over the weekend, saw a Powerade bottle on the side. I immediately thought, got to listen to what I've been saying.
Come on, T-Dot. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I picked it right up.
That stat gets me fired up every morning, Austin, because you hear how many pieces of litter that, I mean, is there a bigger loser piece of garbage thing to do than litter? I mean, what, you just branding yourself? If I see you throwing a plastic wrapper out of your car on the highway, you've immediately branded yourself a loser. It's not hard to throw the trash away and to keep the state you live in clean. Come on, people. The
same people that leave their grocery cart in the middle of the parking lot.
Yes. Yeah.
So
dare I say it brands you a bad human being. Just be a normal person. All right, we're also brought to you this morning by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. They're an official partner of the Tennessee Titans. Sign up today using our bonus code ATOZ Sports to get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if you don't win your first bet. Whether you're cheering on the Titans at the stadium or watching the game at your favorite Music City sports bar, you're always going to be able to get in on the action with the BetMGM app right in the palm of your hand. There's nothing better than a Titans win, and there's nothing like the thrill of winning at BetMGM. Enjoy the best parlay selection options, boosted odds specials, daily promotions, so much more. Download that BetMGM app today. Sign up using our code ATOZ Sports and experience the football season like never before. BetMGM, an official partner of the Tennessee Titans.
All right, so Easton, to the chat you go. Which AFC South fan base should have the highest panic meter right now between the Colts, the Titans, or the Jags? I'm going to put up a YouTube poll. But Easton, what are you seeing from the chats right now?
Seeing a lot of all three teams. The team that I think I'm seeing the most are the Jags from John Koss and Jesse. Daniel thinks it's the Colts for sure, as does Steven and Steven. Got a couple Titans in here, like from Curtis and from Dad to the Bone, American Toff, IR Hoshi. Jags easy, says Yangsty. All three suck, says Ed. Not the question, but fair. Jody says it's the Colts because of their quarterback situation. Cody says hello to me. Hello, Cody. Yeah, so a healthy mix here. I think the majority is Jaguars, but it's not a large majority. I think the chat is split on who we think the most dysfunctional team is here. Remind me, what was the exact wording of our question here, Austin?
The exact wording. Which AFC South fan base should have the highest panic meter right now between the three, the Titans, the Jags, or the Colts?
Yeah, to me, I think it's a two-horse race. I do think it's the Jaguars or the Colts. And that's not to say that the Titans, actually, everything's all hunky-dory. But
really?
I do, because it's about where you are in terms of how hard it will be to reset and move forward. And where the Titans are right now, as much of a bummer it is to be, 2-7, 2-8, whatever they are, 2-8, and as much of a bummer as it is to see Will Levis not quite working out and have all these questions, you aren't in a position where it's going to be difficult to tear it all down and start over going forward. You have a couple long-term contracts, and I don't think any of their long-term contracts are on players that are particularly terrible. I guess you could argue like L'Jarius Sneed, what's going on? I personally haven't given up on him yet. I don't think that the book is written on him here in Tennessee yet, but they don't.
Let's do this on Sneed real quick, because I've seen a lot of people frustrated with L'Jarius Sneed because like, I have a bruised quad and he's out for a month. Why didn't he go on IR?
A strained bruised quad.
Strained quad is the new information. And then I've seen people that are like, L'Jarius Sneed's unhappy once out of Tennessee, so he's not playing. Like I think L'Jarius Sneed is legitimately hurt.
Yes.
Is what that has, and it has continued to be worse than what they initially thought it was going to be. I don't know if it's a misdiagnosis or if it was just a hidden diagnosis of a hidden injury under one injury that was being masked by the bruise, which is what it sounds like it was.
Yeah.
But like L'Jarius Sneed was playing fine. He almost gave up a lot of touchdowns. And then in the game that I was just assaulting verbally L'Jarius Sneed's play against the Colts, he was hurt while doing it.
We found out later that he was very banged up during the bad things that were happening.
Not my fault, though.
Sure.
Why was L'Jarius Sneed that hurt still playing and giving up the game against the Colts? That's who you should. Not my fault. But
Austin, I've heard a million times, why didn't L'Jarius Sneed go on IR? Why do you care?
I mean, I think it's like
I think you're just mad to be mad. And I'm not saying you in particular, but if you're asking this question, you're just mad to be mad. What would it have done for the Titans?
It would have at least told fans that don't expect him to be back for at least a month. And it's a way to signal a severity of an injury to the fan base. I think that's how fans view injured reserve.
That's really dumb. That's really dumb.
I'm not saying I'm just like, I think that's part of it. And also they know if you put somebody on IR and you gain a roster spot.
Right. And so then the question becomes, who have the Titans been missing out on for the last month because they won't let L'Jarius Sneed give up his roster spot? Nobody.
But
they're
again,
not in desperate need for an extra roster spot. There are no people.
They should have given themselves the flexibility.
Why?
Because L'Jarius Sneed hadn't
played for the first 2 weeks of him being out. They thought he was coming back, and then they got an MRI, and they found out that it was an injury on top of an injury. So if they had reason to believe he could be back within that month, it actually would have been really stupid to put him on IR, because then you would have kept him out longer than he needed to be.
But it
would have been bad process to put him on IR when they thought he could be back.
I'm not pissed at him not being on IR.
I know you're not, but a lot of people are, and I think they're just mad to be mad about something.
Yeah, but I think people missed the update of he had two injuries. One was masking the other. So anyway, back to your point of why the Titans are not top two. They're third in your panic meter right now in this conversation, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the long story short is that they can easily reset going forward as compared to the other two teams. The Jaguars, it's easy to understand why they can't. Is because they, like you said, just paid their franchise quarterback. They are now in the number one position to draft first overall if the season ended today. And that quarterback's not playing and may not play for the rest of the year. He's very injured. So, and you got the number one pre-fired head coach in the league, according to the betting sites. That's not an easy reset. You've got to find a new coach. You've got to figure something out with your quarterback because you can't just replace him unless you do so with an incredible draft pick, I guess. But you're not. I mean, they could theoretically have the first pick and draft Shedeur Sanders and just kick all that money to the curb, but you're not going to do that. Obviously,
you're the Falcons.
Yeah, sure, but you can't. You're not doing that. So like they're stuck, and then the Colts are. I mean, I was talking to you about this before the show because we were considering the topic we heard on the radio this morning, and that was Titans Jags, and I was like, Austin, we got to include Colts in this because even though their record reflects a less desperate team right now, I have many friends that are fans of teams of all the AFC South teams. And I've been talking to my Colts friends the past couple of weeks, and I'm not aware of a fan base that is more fired up, more furious, more destitute about the direction and leadership of their franchise. This Colts, not team, but franchise is a dysfunctional dumpster fire right now. And you've got an owner who is clearly off his rocker. Crazy Uncle Jim doesn't know what he's doing. He is clearly meddling in the decision-making of the football people, which is always a red flag. You've got a GM who should have been fired a couple seasons ago, continues to get his redo after redo after redo, operates in a very strange manner, and gets a lot of love from the national media because he's the resident back scratcher in the offseason and is willing to give people information in return for them not hating him. And you've got a coach who, in my opinion, clearly looks like he's a hostage in all of this, a guy who I think is actually a good coach and should be a head coach in the NFL, but you can't survive this the way that it's going right now, whether it's up to him or not. This is something that gets you fired, and I don't think he's long for this team either. And then the quarterback situation where you're playing Joe Flacco. All the jokes the last 2 weeks as they've lost these games with Flacco are so funny. It's like, oh, that pick six on the first pass of the day last week. You know, it's a tough look for the quarterback, but these are the kind of reps. These are the important reps in a young developmental career that they're going to learn from. Stuff that we were saying about Anthony Richardson that would have been true, poking fun at the fact that these are exactly the reps. If you're going to be a bad team, which they are, Anthony Richardson should be getting. Instead, he's on the bench and you've got Joe Flacco burning these interceptions, burning these reps, these experience moments that he doesn't need, that don't serve anybody.
Yeah.
And don't get the Colts into the postseason and probably just gets them a worse pick than they otherwise would have had. So I think all three teams are in a bad spot, but the Colts and the Jaguars are in real trouble right now. And if I had to pick who I think is in the most precarious situation right now, it's the Colts.
You're going Colts.
I'm going Colts, even though their record is better than the other two teams. The number one place you got to avoid in the NFL is quarterback purgatory, or is franchise purgatory. And the only thing worse than being in purgatory, because most teams just happen to find themselves there. It just works out that way. What's worse than that is intentionally marching yourself into it. And that's what they're doing right now.
Oh, it's what they've been doing.
Yes.
Ever since.
Good point.
And look, Andrew Luck retired, and I think that shocked everybody. That was right before the 2019 season, right? Andrew Luck retires. They go with Jacoby Brissett because they got caught off guard. You know, nobody's going to blame them for that.
It happens.
But well, it really doesn't.
but that's a good point. When it happens for the first time ever, there's no precedent. Yeah, you got to figure it out.
So you get a pass for there being a surprise. Your Hall of Fame quarterback, potential Hall of Fame quarterback, retired on you in preseason week 3. So they go with Brissett. They win too many games. They can't draft the quarterback, so they go do the Matt Ryan thing, right? I might mess up the order of
You're forgetting another old legend that came before Matt Ryan.
did. Phillip Rivers is
Phil Rivers experience, which is actually the best of the experiences. First. That was a playoff team.
Yes. Phillip Rivers was first. Then I think Matt Ryan was second. Mm-hmm. Then I think Carson Wentz was third.
Mm-hmm.
And then they said, you know what? Screw this. Let's draft somebody
Wait,
we
no, I
can
think
develop.
Wentz was in between them. Who cares? Who knows? The point is we weren't watching.
Yeah, the point is it was those three guys, and none of them worked besides Phillip Rivers, who limped to the playoffs with his noodle arm.
Yeah, and lost to a Bills team.
Right? Lost to the Bills. Then they would say, all right, let's go draft the guy to
Hard
prepare.
Reset. Yep.
And they have him, and Anthony Richardson. Dumb pick. I said it from the time they did it, 4th overall, dumb pick. He's not a good college quarterback. He's not going to be a good NFL quarterback. I don't care how athletic he is. And here we are less than 2 years later. They are doing the same thing with Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco is the next line of Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz, Joe Flacco.
What's dumber? What's worse process, Austin? Picking him in the first place or giving up on him after 10 games for Joe Flacco?
Because that's true. 10 games is all that Anthony Richardson has played. Now, he's not a rookie. He's an inexperienced quarterback.
A guy who they at their own press conference said, guys, it's going to take a while. Might even take 2 or 3 years.
I mean, I think the reason why they're having to do this again is because they picked a bad quarterback at 4th overall.
They're not having to do it. The reason they're having to do it is because their owner's demanding it. The reason they're doing it is a bad reason.
Sure. But there's the one, I say this every once in a while, every blue moon, I say this, the one thing that I truly still use to this day from journalism school is when you're wrong, get right as fast as you bleeping can.
For sure.
And so the Colts, in my opinion, were wrong to draft Anthony Richardson.
And that's fine if they're admitting it, but this is not the way to get right, is the point.
Well,
this is not getting right.
Yes. What would be getting right? Just playing Anthony Richardson, losing all the games, and then
bottoming out again. That's what teams do when they realize they're wrong.
So what I don't know, so I think they were wrong. Are they admitting they were wrong? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe they're just saying, oh, we haven't given up. He needs more time. So what is getting right to the Colts? Getting right to the Colts feels like trying to save the rest of this roster with Joe Flacco and try to compete for a playoff spot, and then probably going and signing another veteran quarterback who will be the 5th guy in the line of Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz, Joe Flacco, and X. Like, that is what I think the Colts version of get right is going to be, which is also not correct. It's still wrong, but it's a decision. So you have the Colts as the number 1 panic meter.
Colts, Jags, Titans in that order in terms of who's most panicked.
That is interesting. So we're going through most panic. So King VC says, lock in, like the show. Lock in, like the show. Please hit that like button if you haven't already. So I did put up a YouTube poll before I get to mine. The YouTube poll, the Colts are 3rd with 13%.
Oh, silly YouTube.
The Titans are 2nd with 23%, and the Jags a significant 1st with 64% of the votes. So if you want to vote on the YouTube poll, you can absolutely do that on the YouTube live chat. So 64% Jags, 22% Titans, 13% Colts.
I can live with that. I mean, I understand where they're coming from. Again, a quarterback that you just paid $1 gajillion is probably done for the rest of the year. You're in the number 1 pick position halfway through the season. You're in dead last in your division after you were supposed to be contending for the division potentially this year.
Dead last in the entire NFL.
And good point. You're last in the NFL. You're last in your division. And you got a coach who is minus odds to be the next guy fired. So it doesn't get much worse than that, Austin.
It doesn't. So MB has a comment that says, panic. It should be the team with the most expectations that aren't fulfilling those expectations. And that's where I'm going to get to my answer on this.
While you talk, I'm going to see what the preseason win totals were for those two teams.
Yeah, for sure. So, because I'm going to get to my answer on the question. So if you guys have more comments, please drop them in there. We've got a lot of different tangential conversations to get to around this topic, including the quarterback situation that can be fixed, rebuild versus tear down, all that kind of stuff. But before we do that, the Bone and Joint Institute is where you should turn for any of your injury needs. boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever you get hurt in life, you have to know who you can turn to, who you can trust. That's the Bone and Joint Institute in Franklin, Tennessee. I've had a couple injuries over the last 3 years, had some knee tendonitis this spring, got it taken care of with a couple physical therapy sessions that were able to allow me to take down that inflammation a little bit in my left knee. Also had some plantar fasciitis 3 years ago and was able to knock that out, which is a difficult thing to do because the Bone and Joint Institute knows how to take care of their clients, how to get you ready and off the sideline. Don't just sit there in pain and think, it's not that bad. I can deal with it. If it's bothering you, if it's an old injury that just simply won't go away, then just go get it checked out, because they will educate you on how to change some things around your lifestyle to manage that long-term injury like you may have, like I have as well. So online, it's so easy to book an appointment online at boneandjointtn.org.
We're also brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Sign up today using our bonus code ATOZ Sports, which you can find on the screen right now. And they'll give you up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet does not hit. Austin, this weekend, the Titans hosting the Vikings, 6-point home dogs. That's a big number for a home team to be catching.
Yep.
Against a team that, with a defense known for putting quarterbacks in a blender all season long. Brian Flores doing a bang-up job. So if you feel so inclined to bet on or against the Titans this weekend, you can do so at BetMGM. Use our bonus code when you sign up, atozsports.com, to get that $1,500 back in bonus bets.
All right. So I said MB's comment was about, the highest panic meter should be the team that is not living up to the highest level of expectations preseason, which
here's those win totals, by the way.
Yeah,
Jaguars preseason 6.5 over under, Colts 7.5 over under wins.
And the Titans were what, 6.5, 5.5?
I think 4.5.
No, they were higher than that. They were higher than that. It was definitely 5.5.
You actually could have gotten 4.5 at certain books, but the consensus was 5.5.
Okay, so basically in order: Colts 7.5, Jags 6.5,
Titans
5.5.
Mm-hmm.
So not very high expectations for any of these teams. So technically, the Jags, I guess, are the furthest away from their win total because they've played an extra game than the Titans and have an extra game to go. So I think it's also the Jags. The Jags should have the highest panic meter because this is not the way this was supposed to go. The Titans, I think, are deserve to be second in this because of what everybody was sold throughout the offseason was new, fresh energy, aura. There was just like excitement, clean slate, spend money, hope, big name players, and it's just not lived up to anything. But the Jags thought that Doug Peterson was going to fix Trevor Lawrence and build on what they did in Doug Peterson's first year as the Jags coach. And it has simply been a train wreck ever since. And so I think the next level of this conversation is, where would you rather be? Would you rather have the very beginning of a rebuild or nearing the beginning of the teardown? Because the Jags haven't torn it down yet, but it's likely that they will.
Mm-hmm.
The Titans are at the very beginning of the rebuild,
right,
where you don't have the confidence in the rebuild yet.
Right.
So which is the better spot? Because the Titans rebuild could be bad.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have to identify a bad rebuild and then tear down the bad rebuild to rebuild again.
Right.
If you're the Jags, if you're the fans, right? Because this is what we're talking about. If there's the fans, you have the ability of, all you got to do is fire Doug Peterson and get somebody in here that can fix Trevor Lawrence and that can be better for this team. And you're not that, like, you've got talent. You've got first round draft pick talent. You've got solid free agency talent. Like, all you got to do is find the right coach.
Right.
So
would you rather be the chicken or the egg, man? I mean, it's points on the cycle.
So what do you think about that one? So would you rather be the Titans spot where you have a rebuild that's already begun, but you don't have the true proof of concept yet? Or would you rather be the Jags that are hopeful because the rebuild can see fairly easy, can be done easier in this point?
Honestly, I don't think there's much of a differentiation because you have just as little clarity in either situation. It's just you're on different points of the same cycle. The place you want to be is in a already having rebuilt and getting early returns, and neither team is in that position yet. So maybe you look at what the upcoming rebuild landscape looks like in terms of which coaches are going to be available and which quarterbacks are going to be available, what your future draft capital situation looks like. And that's your differentiator. But I don't know, man. I think I'd rather be the Titans just because assuming both teams' current situation works out. Let's say the Titans' current rebuild works itself out and you've got your coach, you find your quarterback, things are good. You're not going into another rebuild soon, is my point. And let's say the Jaguars tear it down this offseason and they also rebuild and it works. Then I'd rather be the Titans because they're a whole season ahead on that trajectory. Right.
But they have a quarterback that's actually that more about Trevor Lawrence. Like you've seen Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, you don't have to tell me, man. Right? I'm the Trevor Lawrence guy. No,
and I don't think Trevor Lawrence is special. I think he is the generational label is now gone.
He's an NFL quarterback.
He's an
NFL quarterback.
He's an NFL quarterback that needs things. He is the what's the term you've used? Is he the tractor or the trailer?
He's a trailer quarterback, not a tractor quarterback.
Right. And he was deemed as the number 1 overall pick, generational talent, to be the tractor quarterback, and he's not. So I think that you know that he is an NFL quarterback that is a trailer NFL quarterback. So you can do something with that. You can plan with that. Sure. With an unknown like Will Levis, is he a tractor or is he a trailer? You're still trying to figure things out and like throwing different experiments at the wall and see what happens.
Right. But one of those guys is free. And one of them is a trailer that you're paying a gajillion dollars.
Yes.
So kind of limiting.
It is.
So maybe that's your differentiating factor, is to say, I don't want to be saddled with that.
Because it's easier to move on from Will Levis than it is moving on from Trevor Lawrence.
And even more than that, it's easy to flub it with the people around them. Like you can have bad quarterback play, but you have all of your money to spend on all the other things. So you can put together a good team otherwise. But with Trevor Lawrence, you're limited on how much money you can spend on the rest of the things because you're spending a bunch on him, who's a trailer. So
that's correct. Yeah. So the next level of this is who's the closest to fixing it. And now we can lump the Colts back into this.
Mm-hmm. Even though my answer is not the Colts, because I think they have an owner problem. And that's the furthest you can be from getting things fixed, is because until that guy dies or has a change of heart, you're stuck. And you're not Dan Snyder in this guy, because as wacky as he is, he's not committed any crimes and he's beloved in the NFL owner community.
Irsay?
So, yeah, the rest of the owners like Irsay as compared to what they felt about Dan Snyder.
Well, yeah, but that's like not saying.
I know it's a low bar, but like Irsay's a leader. Like you think of the people in the room, in the owners' meeting room, who are NFL like franchise leaders. It's Jerry Jones, and then that second tier, Jim Irsay's in the second tier. He is.
Is he just loud?
That's part of it. He's also been around. He's also been around a really long time, so there's a seniority element to it. And we don't know the inner workings of the NFL as a business, not the football side of things. I get the vibe that from a business standpoint, Jim Irsay is a leader in terms of the NFL enterprise.
Okay.
Which, he's made $1 billion in his life. He must know how to do something right with business.
Ross says the Titans roster can be fixed this offseason if they get a quarterback.
That's every roster in the entire league, my friend.
No, it's not, though.
Yes, it is. You get an epic quarterback you can fix literally any team.
Yeah, but
the Washington Commanders had 30 new guys on their roster.
Okay, so I guess season. Where I was looking at,
they got one epic quarterback and it was fixed.
Where I was looking at Ross's comment is the Titans roster can be fixed this offseason if they get a quarterback. Like not every NFL team can fix their roster this offseason in one offseason with.
I guess roster is the sticking point. Like you can't fix the roster, but you can fix the team.
I
can take any NFL roster and plug an epic quarterback in, and it's going to be much better in a hurry.
But I think they can, because the way they're going to fix the quarterback still allows them to fix the roster, because the fixing of the quarterback is going to be another rookie contract. Like,
So what are you agreeing with this
I
comment?
agree with Ross that I think they can be fixed with a new quarterback that resets the contract clock, that goes and continues to have a lot of cap space to go continue to draft on top of it and sign complimentary free agents. And they can, I think, because they have more
Sure.
flexibility. Like the Jags don't have the flexibility because they have the Trevor Lawrence contract. That's at least my take.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I'm with you there. I also don't think it's the only way, by the way. I mean, I personally think another player acquisition cycle for this team, even if you don't quote unquote fix the quarterback position, you can still fix the rest of the roster. And you can get to a point where you're like, rest of this roster is solid. They're definitively being held back by mediocre quarterback play. But even then, unless you have a truly, truly terrible quarterback, a good roster without significant holes anywhere is like, it's still a team sport. So you can still be like a 500 team with a guy that is not awesome. Like, just think about like the Vikings last year with Josh Dobbs and the Sam Howell Commanders before he started to get banged up. Like you can make it, and even the Commanders are a bad example because they were actually a bad roster too. You can fake it till you make it with a good roster and a bad quarterback. So I think you can fix the roster this offseason, whether you get a quarterback or not. You can fix the team if you get a quarterback situation fixed, I believe. But
Yes.
anyways, so what's your answer to the question?
Well,
Who's closest?
I was about to ask it officially.
Okay.
I was about to get into all
Let's
that.
ask it then. Let's do it.
So, which AFC South team is closest to competing with the Texans? Which AFC South team is closest to competing with the Houston Texans? I'll tell you what, Farm Bureau Health Plans, they've been competing for the best health coverage rates on the market across our state of Tennessee for 78 years. Farm Bureau Health Plans, FBHP.com/ATOZ is where you should turn for your health coverage. Whatever your situation may be, Farm Bureau Health Plans can try to make it better. They've done that with Zach Bingham a few years ago when he was an entrepreneur single at the time, needed better health coverage with what the government marketplace was providing. Farm Bureau Health Plans was able to help him get that and save 20% every month and getting better coverage for it. Maybe you're an empty nester. My parents earlier in 2024 had their situation change with my mom's work situation as she retired. They're trying to find out what's that next level of coverage. Farm Bureau Health Plans did not treat them as a couple. They treated them as individuals because that was way better in the pocketbook for their situation. So it's not just cookie cutter, putting you in a pigeonhole situation. It is the right spot for you and your spot as well. So FBHP.com/ATOZ. That's where you should turn. FBHP.com/ATOZ with Farm Bureau Health Plans.
We're also brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Sign up today using our bonus code ATOZ Sports, and they're going to give you up to $1,500 back if your first bet does not cash. That's the BetMGM app. Get it right there on your phone. Sign up using our betting code ATOZsports.com. BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas.
All right, so Easton, the question here is, who is the closest AFC South team to competing with the Texans? I'm going to put up another YouTube poll. Before I end the first YouTube poll, I do want to see the results real quick, because the first YouTube poll was which AFC South fan base should have the highest panic meter right now between the Titans, the Jags, and the Colts. It has gotten closer at the back half. The Jags are still 61% in the number one spot. The Titans at 21%, and the Colts have grown a little bit with 18%. You have the Colts first in the panic meter. I have the Jags first in the panic meter there too. So now, as I end this poll to start the next one, who's closest to competing with the Houston Texans in the AFC South? What are you seeing from the comment section here?
Let's see here. I am seeing the Titans from Steven, the Titans from Yangsty, who is admitting this is blind homerism on his part. Raz says the Titans if they just get a quarterback. The Jags, says Steve. Scott says the Titans are closer. Linwood says the Titans are closer. I'm trying to find one Indianapolis. Here, Adam believes Indy is the closest. Titans, Tennessee, Titans. Seeing a lot of Tennessee here. Maybe, Titans, believe it or not, so cause maybe it is blind homerism, but I feel like if our consensus on the first answer is that the biggest panic is the other two teams, it does track that the Titans are the inverse of that a little bit. I can understand the logic.
But we're like the problem with answering the Titans in this is that finding the right quarterback is not easy. You know?
Yeah.
So, like,
You
it's
think?
simple. It's simple. The Titans just need a quarterback, right?
People don't realize, man, finding a quarterback's kind of hard.
Yeah,
Folks
I mean,
don't know this, but
look at so I don't think it's automatically the Titans. I think it's not
well, so let's define closest, or let's define what's the
competing.
actual question? Closest to competing? Yeah, let's define
Competing.
competing, because if we're talking about just being a playoff team, that's a different. To me, that's a different question and probably a different answer than closest to being what I consider a competitor is somebody that may be able to win the championship.
Yeah, but the championship, the division?
No, the league.
I
To
think
me, an NFL competitor is somebody that has a sliver of the might win a ring pie.
I'm gonna.
That's to me. That's to me.
I think
Maybe you have
it's
a different definition.
competing for the division.
Okay,
I
so we
think
see it
that is
differently.
the
We see it
right.
differently. But I think we can agree that those are two different questions and probably two different answers. Because like I think if the question is who's the closest to competing for just the division, even if it's it's a mediocre, crappy team, I think it's the Jaguars because you have a guy that again he's the only guy in this circumstance that to me is a proven NFL quarterback. And you could go and you could get they go hire Ben Johnson in the offseason. Ben Johnson's not going to Jacksonville, but let's just say they get somebody like that who's a hit. And you draft first, and you get Travis Hunter on your team, and then you got Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter, and you address the defense and free agency. Like boom, you got a 500, maybe slightly better than 500. Things break your way team. You're competing for the division. But I don't think that team is competing for a ring anytime soon.
Yeah, but I think it's competing with the Texans. I think you're talking about competing for the AFC South. Like that.
Well, so there's my answer. If that's the question, then my answer is the Jaguars.
That is the question because we didn't say who's the closest to competing with a Super Bowl because I think that question we get laughed off.
Well, we said compete, and that's to me that's what compete means.
And competing, and I'm not saying who is the outside the Texans, who's the next team to win the AFC South because I don't know how long that's going to take, but who could be playing a game in December against the Texans the soonest, where the Texans are like, man, if we lose this game to one of these three, the AFC South is going to be kind of up for grabs. That's how I'm viewing the question. December divisional game that will create turmoil in the division standings for a home playoff game. So you said the Jags. I think it's the Colts, though.
I don't. So here's the question then. What do the Colts need to do differently from what they are doing today on November 13th to get to that point?
Have a better Joe Flacco? Like a better veteran quarterback. It's not 39.
I don't. Have you seen have you seen that team play defense?
Yeah,
like this idea that the Colts have internally that like if we just replace Anthony Richardson with Joe Flacco, we will suddenly have a contending caliber defense. No, your defense blows. They suck out loud. You're not compete with anything with that defense.
Yeah, but the offense has pieces, and the offense has pieces that need to be given a quarterback that's competent. Like I think the Colts next year, if they get the right free agent quarterback, can be in that spot against the Texans in December in Houston or in Indy and saying, hey, the Colts might beat the Texans here, and that's going to make that AFC South race real interesting.
Well, so you're going with the grossest of all worlds in terms of just being competitive, quote unquote, enough to win the division, because that's not a team that's right. I get it. But here, I think there's that's
the first step. It's baby steps, man.
I know, but I think there's some
if
realism.
If you're talking about the Colts having a big panic meter because they're in quarterback purgatory, we're not talking about competing for the Lombardi or even the Lamar Hunt trophy. We're talking
right. I think your answer only exists on paper. I don't think in reality it's possible for a couple of reasons, because the reality of the situation is that at the current trajectory, you're going to be shopping for a new GM or a new head coach, or probably both soon. At the current pace, you don't have an owner that's necessarily interested in going to do another free agent bargain bin find in the offseason to patch up this hole for 1 year in the offseason. Like, people don't realize this. I'm the Flacco guy. I think he might be the best backup in the league, pound for pound. But
he's a starter now.
Right. Back up. As a starter, like, I don't know if you know this, Austin. It's a limited sample size, but this season with the Colts are a more efficient offense with Anthony Richardson. I think it's like 5.5 yards per play with Anthony Richardson, 5.2 with Joe Flacco. And does Joe Flacco open up their passing game a little bit more when he's in? Yes. But you know what it also does? Joe Flacco so far has destroyed their running game. Jonathan Taylor becomes a non-factor when Joe Flacco's on the field because of Anthony Richardson's threat as a runner. I think their rushing EPA is like, I'm making numbers up. It's like +2 when Richardson's in there, and with Flacco in, it's like -0.9. Like it's a problem.
Again, I still think it's like the craziness of the fact that the Colts have they've won more games with Anthony Richardson getting hurt in the middle of the game than they have when Anthony Richardson finishes the game. Like that's pretty.
My point is not that Richardson's going to win you more games. My point is that Flacco is just a different type of
they might have better. I mean, you're talking about 5.2 to 5.5 average yards per play because Anthony Richardson at times will have like a 60-yard bomb.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm not arguing it gets way worse with Flacco. My point is it does not get materially better with Flacco. Like maybe marginally, but not enough to compete.
I mean, when they were 4-4,
right?
The last 2 games, Flacco is like, peed the bed. But as a 39-year-old,
the Flacco vision is he has to be perfect on third down. That's the whole bit. Yeah. Is Flacco can come in, we can run.
Again, I'm not talking about Flacco. I'm talking about like finding a better version of Flacco. It's the 5th version of Philip Rivers.
And I'm telling you, in the real world, when they're probably going to fire their GM, fire their head coach, and they have an owner who does not want to.
If you think that Chris Ballard's about to get fired after this season, then that changes my answer. Because do you think that's going to happen?
I think at this point you're trending in that direction. But even more than that, say Steichen and Ballard get kept around. Do you really think that this owner, who clearly has a say in this, is interested at all in doing the free agency thing again for a quarterback?
Yes.
No.
Not when what else is he going to do? It's what he has to do. He has no other option.
He can bottom out. That's the options right there. They were doing it.
No, they chose not to because you just said he chose.
I know, but you said what other option does he have? That was the option. He chose not to take
but he has told you that is not an option. Like he just told you that's not. Anthony Richardson is not an option for Jim Irsay.
Well, and the funny thing is, they're actually bottoming out right now, whether they want to or not. They're trying not to, but they are actively doing it.
But I'll put it back up there again. ESPN.com has their projected NFL draft order for the next 10 weeks of the NFL season or 9 weeks, whatever the hell it is. The average draft position for the Colts is 13.8. There's no JJ McCarthy and Bo Nix to be there wasn't even those guys available at 13 or 14 this year.
Going to draft Drew Aller at 14.
And yes, that's not going to go very well. Man, Penn State and the Colts feel like the same damn team. That is the same damn team.
That is similar vibes. That's a good point.
Except Penn State has actual defense. And James Franklin is the Jim Irsay of Penn State.
Gosh.
So I think the Colts don't have another option but to pick 14th in the draft and to go sign the best or second best.
Well, no, but hang on. I don't think. Do you think so? Like, because when you go out and you sign the best or the second best free agent quarterback, sometimes that's Kirk Cousins for $40 million, $50 million a year. I don't think that they're in that business at all. I think they'd be looking for a budget guy to get them by, a 1-year rental. I think in the realm of real possibilities, it is more likely that the Jaguars do a healthier version of this than the Colts do. Because I think that they're tilted as a franchise, have the blinders on, and aren't interested in actually doing what's necessary to be your version of competitive soon, which is win a division, which isn't actually competitive.
But it's competing with the Texans for the division. That's the point. That's the question.
All yes.
Right. So I've got the YouTube poll. I did ask the updated question.
It is funny that in both instances, we're not even considering the Titans for either question.
Yeah, the YouTube poll that's being answered by the Titans audience says the Titans, 55% of the vote say the Titans are the closest to competing with the Texans, followed by the Colts at 27, the Jags at 18. So once again, Easton, your answer has been the third place answer in the poll. Both polls today.
I think people just despise the Jaguars and they're blinded to the actual question at hand, which I can understand.
Yeah, because I guess the Jags are in the worst spot in both polls.
Yes.
Least competitive, biggest panic meter. So
it just isn't that fascinating that neither of us or the chat, it seems, is considering the Titans in the worst spot at all. Like we're not really panicking on them compared to the other teams, but we're also not thinking they're close like the other teams. And I think the root of that is what whoever it was at the beginning of the show said is it's about expectations, and we're all committed to our priors a little bit here, and it's the fact that the Colts and Jaguars were expected to be potentially competitive winning teams this year that have us panicked about how it's going. And it's also the fact that they have the bones of a team that, again, preseason we believed was close to competing, that we think they could be close soon if only X, Y, Z.
Mm-hmm.
And the Titans we're still figuring it out, man.
It's rough. It's tough out there. All right. Speaking of tough, let's see if we can do better with trivia without Sam.
All right. I'm excited. Here we go.
All right. Time for a little sports trivia action. Let's do it. To our friends, Wilson County Hyundai, make them a part of your new car buying process. Go see them in Lebanon or online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Easton, are you ready?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, here we go. Boom. Okay, that was a solid transition with the graphics. So there is no baseball question.
Wait, no, there is. There's one.
I looked for baseball, not MLB.
Yeah, MLB. College basketball. Do you feel better about NBA or college basketball?
College. Well, you know what's funny is Major League Baseball is usually in that top right, so that's exactly what I looked at. It.
Yeah,
and because usually NBA is in the center top. Which why Daily Dozen is the Major League Baseball category still in existence on November 13th when it is the furthest away from its season starting, and both college basketball and the NBA are playing games now. Okay. So we start with the NFL. Let's just do this. We're going to go NFL. We're going to go retail shopping, television, and we're just going to go in a big square, and then we'll save celebrity mashup for the end. Does that sound good to you?
Yes. Okay.
So we're going to end with Major League Baseball and celebrity mashup, which is probably going to doom us, but I'm ready for the pain. Easton, are you ready for us to get started?
All right.
No Googling.
No.
By the way, I have the chat.
Don't help us with the Google. Help us with your minds.
Yes, this is brain exercises. Okay, you ready?
Yes. All right, NFL. Here we go. After his tenure in Tennessee, Marcus Mariota spent 2 years as a backup in Las Vegas. And started 13 games for this NFC team in 2022. Austin?
The Falcons.
The Atlanta Falcons.
I do not have Sam on speed dial. Retail and shopping.
Retail and shopping. What chain of hardware stores uses the partial slogan, the place with the helpful hardware folks? Ace. Ace is the place with the helpful hardware folks. All right, what next here? Television. Starring as an Avengers character, this 21 Disney Plus miniseries featured major roles from Haley Steinfeld and Florence Pugh.
That is not my category.
It's Hawkeye, right?
We will wait for the chat.
I know Haley Steinfeld was in Hawkeye, and Hawkeye was the Avengers character.
Hawkeye says Matt.
Yeah.
Hawkeye says TJ. Hawkeye says Demetrius.
Movies. 2015 sports movie starring Gyllenhaal and Rachel McAdams focused on a boxer trying to revive his life and career after a tragedy.
Oh.
I know it too.
The Fighter?
No. Gyllenhaal. Was it The Fighter? No. It's going to kill me when I...
Southpaw coming from Caleb, Matt, Jesse,
Southpaw.
Eric.
Music. I've got another confession to make. I'm your fool. Everyone's got their chains to break. Holding you are the open lyrics to what? 2005 Foo Fighters songs. Man, I couldn't name a single Foo Fighters song.
Yeah, this is tough too.
Gonna need the chat. Who's the Foo? I know there's some Foo Fighter fans out there. Help us fight the Foo here. I've got another confession to make. I'm your fool.
The best of you? Best of you. The best or best of you?
Let's see what shows up. Best of you. Chain restaurants. What major pizza chain offers the $7 deal lovers menu? I hear the commercial all the time.
Is it
Little Caesars?
No.
You sure?
Let's see if it pops up in the Arby's ad below you. Pizza Hut. We're getting Pizza Hut and Domino's. We're getting pizza. I think it's Pizza
Somebody
Hut.
sure? Is somebody sure? I'm seeing more Pizza Huts than not.
There's so many Pizza Huts.
$7 deal lovers menu at Pizza Hut. That sounds right to me.
All right, let's go Pizza Hut.
Yes.
Okay, college basketball.
Before he was drafted 3rd overall, Bradley Beal helped this SEC school make the 12 Elite Eight.
Gator bait. Florida Gators.
Gators. You just got to put in Florida.
Florida Gators.
Just Florida, I'm assuming?
I guess so, yeah.
All right, here we go. A top 5 pick from the 07 draft. This catcher made 4 All-Star teams and won 2 Gold Gloves with the Orioles from 09 to 16. Chat, help us out. Orioles catchers. 4 Golden Gloves. So a notable player. That's a lot of Golden Gloves.
I could name an Orioles player. Regardless. Waiters?
Waiters? I've heard that name before. Matt Waiters? Is that who that is?
No, Matt Waiters.
No, I know, but I think the guy's name is Matt Waiters. Is who he's
Guerrero? Oh, gosh.
Come on, folks. Help.
Does anybody know the Orioles catcher?
I know Matt Waiters is a real...
Juan Soto?
No, he's not.
Adam D says Waiters.
Not a catcher. Waiters is a real MLB player that I'm aware of.
Type in Waiters.
Waiters. Yes, Waiters.
Did you guys have a first name? Or what? Like, come on. Give us... Matt Waiters?
IE? Oh, yeah, there.
Okay.
Oh! Right. Okay. The inside one is
somebody's Ben Affleck.
Oh, you think so? The inside one is I'm totally blanking on his name. Holy cow.
Ben Affleck's chin is right there. There's zero doubts in my mind.
Okay. I'm completely blanking on it's very popular pop star in the middle. Shawn Mendes. Holy cow. It's definitely Shawn Mendes.
Yes.
All right. Hey.
Look at that. Oh.
Hey, that is not bad at all right there.
Yeah, if Matt would have just said Matt Waiters from the beginning and we wouldn't have lost 30 seconds.
I'm just glad we got it. I don't care, honestly. I'm just glad we didn't mess up the MLB question. Weeders. Wheatears.
Who gives a damn? Wheatears.
Hey, a 4-minute 9 for 9 is not bad at all. We take those.
I'm in. I like that a lot. Baseball still screwed us up because, Sam would have had that before you finish reading the question.
You think so? I'm hoping he's not watching. Today I'll ask him.
He's not. Sam had the event last night at
oh, that's right. So will I even see him today?
No. Yes, you should. I mean, that's what he said he was going to do.
Oh, right.
But Sam decided to, after the Survivor 47 event last night at Ole Miss, he decided to drive back from Oxford right after that.
Yeesh.
So he was a sleepy boy this morning on the show call.
I bet.
But the Sam's going to have some good content coming out. He is working on a 2-round mock draft that A to Z Sports published. And the Titans, I like what our A to Z Sports mock drafter Ryan Roberts did for the Titans in the first 2 rounds of the draft.
Cool.
I like it a lot.
Okay.
So we'll see Sam's thoughts on that throughout the day. American Tough. How many freaking Survivor events are there? Well, there's,
You're telling me American Tough. It seems like one a week.
One per week. Yeah, one per week because they have 1 episode a week. It makes total sense, right?
Listen, CBS's folks, they know how to drum up interest.
Rashid asked, did Sam survive this week? We don't know.
I wasn't at Ole Miss last night, so I couldn't tell you.
I was not. Ole Miss had the early viewing. No, I was here getting pissed off at the college football playoff rankings.
I'd imagine before their early viewing, somebody got up there and threatened every person individually with their life to not talk about it.
Yeah, I would love to know.
I doubt you can find anything on social media about how it went.
There's probably some NDA.
You think they literally were handing out NDAs as you walked in the door?
Yeah, that'll be part of the Survivor experience for those events. Is like, here,
I hand you a cocktail and an NDA.
The same NDA that Sam did. Like,
here's your courtesy drink and a legally binding contract. Please.
But seriously, they got to. Because if one person,
you trust college kids to stay off the internet for 24 hours? No. Now I'm going to go scour the internet to see if I can find somebody saying something about it.
There's no way. There's no way that could
some anonymous person on Reddit. I guarantee somebody did.
And Dav says probably if you snitch, you lose your money. Oh, like there are consequences.
Well, the players, yes,
but that's why Sam. That's why we haven't been able to talk much about it because Sam can't say anything. Like Issa and I can have conversations about Survivor. Like, do I think Sam's safe this week? because of how
Probably.
unsafe he was last week, I feel like he gets. I think this episode, the heat is going to be off of him a little bit.
Well, I don't even think it'll be that. I think if he was in a position to lose this week, he'll probably would lose because they were so close to beating him. I'm betting on him not losing challenges twice in a row. He probably just is in a safer position.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to lose his vote 2 weeks in a row.
Right, exactly. So he'll probably just be in a more powerful position and survive this week. But people who listened to the show last week know that I don't think he's long for the game. But
I think again, we had this conversation Friday. I'm circling that the first week of December. That's the one to watch. I think December 4th. That's the one. December 4th. That's my thought. I'm not really sure. Yeah, and does Sam outlast Levis? That starts tonight. Matt says Sam's not as dangerous without Sierra in their eyes.
Oh, apparently Genevieve was at this event last night.
Yes, Genevieve was. As was Q from
people online are so funny. So like this somebody put on Twitter this picture with Genevieve. They're like, I met Genevieve at this Ole Miss event last night. And it's just a picture of them smiling for a photo. And all the comments are like, oh, she looks so happy. She definitely won. Or, or she's smiling for a photo.
Sam's also there. Sam looks happy. He must have won, but they couldn't have both won. So I don't know.
I mean, if you look through my family calendar, I look like a guy that has won a lot of money because I'm smiling for pictures.
That's right. Jesse, when we throw in shade, yesterday.
6 days from now. If you're looking for a new opportunity.
Tuesdays is Shade Day. Wednesday is Sports Trivia, Jesse.
Shade on Jesse for not knowing the Shade Day.
I mean, like I can throw shade while we're here for a second. Like
Let me guess what it's about.
The college football playoff
committee, perhaps?
Yeah, the college football playoff committee last night told us that their rankings don't matter until the very end. But that's the message they sent. Because nothing changed for Indiana and BYU to jump Tennessee, yet they jumped Tennessee for no reason, no actual logical reason. If Tennessee was behind both Indiana and BYU last week, then fine. But they're showing that their rankings do not matter. So they basically told us last night, by the simple fact of Indiana and BYU being ahead of Tennessee this week, that we should not pay attention next week. We should not pay attention to their television product that is making them money. The reason why they did this, the whole freaking reason behind the college football playoff expansion is television money. Television money is the whole damn reason. And they just told us to stop watching it. That's what they did. Tell me I'm wrong, Easton. Tell me I'm wrong.
I mean, like, I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong. I told you my theory before, and I am not an expert at this. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up. But just my thought when I saw that was, we heard all this week about like the SEC doomsday scenario when there's 19 teams that are 7-2 at the end of or 10-2 at the end of the season, and who gets in? Who
7 teams could be 10-2.
Right. So, okay, 7 teams could be 10-2. I think the committee is scared of this possibility, and they are soft launching the idea that one of you jokers is going to get the short straw here, and we can't have you all packed into the top 10 of our rankings and then leave one of you out. We've got to prepare you over the next coming months to not be in. That's what I think is happening.
But like Tennessee's still in the top 10. Tennessee's ranked 8th.
Well, if you see more SEC teams in that sweepstakes,
here's the
arbitrarily knocked down in the coming weeks. There's your reason why.
The Big Ten has 4 teams in the top 5 because Ohio State is the only team that plays 2 teams.
4 in the top 5? Really?
Yep. Because
wow.
Ohio State is the only team that plays 2 legitimate teams. They play all of them. Ohio State played Oregon. Mm-hmm. They played Indiana, or they will play Indiana. They played Penn State and themselves, Ohio State. So Ohio State played all 3. Oregon just plays Ohio State. Indiana just plays Ohio State. Penn State just plays Ohio State. They get to beat up on Rutgers and Maryland and Northwestern and Michigan.
They get to wax Michigan by 5.
They get to wax Michigan by 5.
Killed them.
It's because they have a schedule. Because the SEC, go look at all those teams in the SEC and how many common games there are between that entire mess. Entire mess. That's why the Big Ten schedule sucks.
Well,
and the problem with 16-team conferences is that tiebreakers are impossible. And Jonathan says, Nico Iamaleava being hurt is the reason. No, it's not. Not according to the Michigan athletic director, who's the chairman of the college football playoff committee. He said Nico's injury had zero impact on that. He literally said that the reason why BYU and Indiana jumped Tennessee is because those two teams, Indiana and BYU, had big wins over the weekend, while Tennessee's offense has struggled recently.
Barely beating unranked Michigan and Utah are big wins.
Beating 500 football teams by a combined 6 points is enough to jump them after Tennessee beat a bad football team by 19 points with a backup quarterback.
With their backup quarterback.
Yeah.
That's listen, I think you're just reinforcing my theory that they're just going to arbitrarily knock these guys down, arbitrarily knocking them down.
Indiana had 20 yards of offense in the second half.
Mm-hmm. I think Indiana's a good ball team. Don't get me wrong, but what they did last week was not move up worthy.
And so Nick says BYU and Indiana have not lost to anyone
because they don't play anyone.
Correct, but
because they do not play anybody.
That didn't change like nothing. Like Tennessee did not lose to Arkansas Saturday. That's the point. Is that the committee told us don't watch next week. It doesn't matter because there's no precedent. There's no precedent.
What do you think the punishment will be if they let's say Tennessee looks awesome. It's just like a classic game against Georgia this week. Both teams look the best they've looked all year. Tennessee loses 44-45. What's the punishment in the rankings for that?
Oh, Tennessee's great defense is no longer great. Get them out.
16th in the rankings.
They gave up more points in this game than they did the last 4 games. Get them out.
Tennessee, first team to make Carson Beck look like a real NFL quarterback. Can't have it.
Yeah. So
right,
that is
let's get out of here. So
Jesse wanted some shade. So American Toff says Reddit survivor thread spoil says Sam, Rachel, and Sierra say Sam and Rachel make it to the final 3. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. So
I'm looking at other pictures from last night's event in this thread, and one of the it was Sam and Genevieve, and then a bunch of past survivor people. And one of the comments was, "Do any of these people have real jobs?" Which is funny. At least one of them does. I don't know about the rest of them. At least one guy has a real job.
Who?
Sam. You employ him.
Oh. I mean, do you think you have a real job compared to other people? Compared to the population?
Yeah, you got to define real for sure. For sure. I have a really cool job, but I don't know. Yeah. It is real, you know.
Q's a real estate agent.
If you ask the IRS, it's a real job. Because
yes.
If you're going to tell me it's not a real job, I want my tax money back.
It's a real job. Okay, that's it.
Next time you tell me to do something I don't want to do, I'm going to say, well, it's not even a real job, so I'm not doing
it. Relatively. All right, make sure you hit the like button. Like the show. If you haven't yet on Facebook and YouTube, please hit the like button. We'll catch you guys tomorrow on a Thursday. We'll find out if Sam does survive tonight on Survivor 47. Also, you and Sam will be at the facility later on. A to Z sports.com/Titans. Appreciate it as always. Check you later.